Okay, so now we've got them in the door, and we're going to talk about each of the 4 personality types with regard to programming and coaching. Let's start again with the fact-based extrovert, that loud, strong personality. Brian, how do you coach this person?
So remember, they're going to be the ones that want to be in control. They want to be the boss.
Yeah.
So when we're coaching them, that's the type of person where, hey, listen, I know whether that person does a barbell bench press, a dumbbell bench press, safety issues aside, right?
Yeah.
That it doesn't really matter. As long as they're doing a horizontal push,
yeah,
we're going to be good.
Okay.
So like, hey, you might even use the word boss. Hey, we got to do we have 2 options today. You want a dumbbell bench or you want to do barbell? I've been itching to do barbell. All right, cool, let's do that. Like now they're taking control of what part of the programming is. Like if I had a bilateral hip movement and a horizontal push program for that day, they chose that, then that's fine, right?
Okay.
Now, that's a little bit more work, right? Obviously, it's not an easier way to go about it than just saying, hey, buddy, you got to do what's on the sheet.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even have to be from a day-to-day standpoint. It's more like long-term. Hey, when you do that first goal review, all right, Chris, absolutely crushed that one.
Yep.
Hey, where are we going next, right? It's not me telling them like, hey, well, your chin-ups aren't that great. We should do that. I want to know what they want to work on,
Okay.
right? And for the guys, it's going to be like, you think we could throw like some, I feel like I got to do more arms.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And it's
I
like,
hear that. Yeah.
So you can't, we know that your arm, if you can do 15 weighted chin-ups, your arms will probably look just fine.
Yeah.
But it can't hurt to let them, they make them feel like I had some input on my training program here. So they have chin-ups, and at the end they do 3 sets of 15 barbell curls. Like,
okay.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, so they were heard, we put that in there, and we kind of move forward. Yeah, and using the language of, hey, you know what you're doing. Like, come on, let's go. Like, feeding into that, like they're in control. The more that you can with the coaching, the better. But the good thing is that since they're in control, they're the people that are going to come in, grab their sheet, start going. The hardest part you'll have is intervening when they unfortunately don't know what they're doing.
Oh no!
It's like they're doing the exercise wrong, or this is how I always did it. And it's like, all right, cool. So. Trying to show them that, like, hey, if you could do it that well, imagine if we tweak it a little bit, how much better it could be. And then you kind of move it along from there. Like, because to your point about the sales stuff, if you get argumentative, like, no, that way's crap. You're going to lose it. And,
yeah.
You need ways to give them that buy-in.
Okay, yeah, that's really profound. Okay, so let's move on to coaching the fact-based introvert.
All right, so these are just as a quick refresh, these are the analytical type. Mm-hmm. They're going to want to do their in-body, go over their monthly whoop data, any of the wearables, data, tracking, stuff like that you can give, the better.
Yeah.
So in their coaching, when you're coaching them through their actual workouts, it's going to be, hey, for our lower body ones, we're going to look at moving it up like 5%, like using specific numbers. They like in their programming, getting down into the details of tempo.
Coaching and programming for the relationship extrovert, Brian.
All right, so we touched on it a little bit, but this group of people couldn't care less about your program or your hows and whys. Yeah. They just want to know, like, is their jam on and is the music loud and are they feeling good? So these are the people that you can ask, hey, how you feeling today? Like, feeling great? Good. All right, we're going to push it. Like, these are the people that you might give a large range to. How many to do? Like 15 to 20 is great.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range till you feel your arms burn. Like they're going to be into it that way. Okay. And they're going to want to know how many Chris do. Oh, Chris did. All right, cool. Now I'll do 16 then.
Yeah.
Like they're a little bit more competitive. They want to be with the group. Interestingly enough, these people will self-select your larger group than something individualized because that information on their sheet is not important. These are the people that, like, you're going to have to do most of the documenting because if you give that chart to them, they're going to be like, cool, so what do we have today?
Yeah.
Like,
tell me what to do.
Yeah, that's what you're here for.
Yeah.
Like, so having those things in mind and not taking them personal, like, well, this person doesn't care about the numbers. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't mean that they don't care about their results, though. Like, They just don't care about the numbers. Like, you have to keep track of that. And they're the person that you'll have to, check in on them every once in a while and make sure they're using the appropriate weights. Because if their friend's using 15s, but they're capable of using 25s, I grab the 15. That's what Chris grabbed. I grab the 15s. Or it could go the other way. Like they grab the 30s and it's like, I don't think you could do one of those. Like, I want to try it. Chris had it. Like, you know?
Exactly.
So those are the ones that like you have to kind of guide the experience, but it's more experience based. Like, was the music good? Was the coach energetic? They're going to feed off of you more than themselves. So they're the person that when you sit down with them at the end of the 30 days, they're going to be concerned about their body comp if that was their goal and things that initially, but more so they're going to be like, hey, did I feel like this was like enjoyable for me to be here for every day that I was coming in? So I think from a programming standpoint, like, don't pick boring exercises. What exercises are fun? Like, so getting this person to focus on a rear foot elevated split squat would probably be very, very hard to do, as opposed to letting them do like a walking lunge or something where
Across
they're
the
moving.
gym.
Hey, something that's getting them moving. You might have to write more like Metcon-ish type workouts for them.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're gonna do as many as you can in 10 minutes, and we're gonna go hard. Whereas like trying to explain why to the introvert that way would be like, well, I don't really know why. So with this person, like, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be awesome. You're gonna try to beat your numbers or beat your friends' numbers, things like that. So those are for me anyway, personally as a coach, these are the toughest people to manage because I'm the furthest away from that. So it's more about feeling them out and making sure they enjoyed the workout for the day.
Well, and it'd be tough for me to manage them too. And some of my coaches are the same because, as you said, these are the people who are showing up 5 minutes late every time and like, oh, what's the workout again? You know, after you've just explained it. How do you manage that? Is it just knowing who they are?
It's knowing who they are and then just trying not to take, I don't do the best job of it, but trying not to take it personal. They're not late because they don't feel like your warm-up's important.
Right.
They're late because they probably didn't want to offend somebody else in what they were. These are people pleasers.
Yeah.
So you can put that to work. You could say like, all right, cool, you're a little bit late, get on up here. You're going to demo the warm-up with me. And now they're like, almost like the jester of like you know, they know. Like for the most part, you're aware if you're the person that's always 10 minutes late. Like, and even though they're energetic, they probably still feel bad about it. So getting them included in things and making them a part of it, they enjoy all that stuff. So if you can use that to your advantage, then better. As long as it's obviously not disruptive, which most people don't want to be. You know? So, but having those backups of like, you can't give this person 8 different stretches to do in their warm up and be like, well, this is gonna increase your adductor length. They're gonna be like, yeah, I don't get it.
Let's go.
What are we doing? It's like they're more like, hey, I want you to do 5 30-second on, 30-second off intervals on the bike, and then we're going to get rolling.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to be with them every part of the way because to them, this is their performance. They didn't hire you for the science. They hired you for the feeling.
Oh, no.
So you have to kind of like, and that's why they would wear me out more as a coach because like I'm very much like, come on, the hip quad stretch, we've done it 17 times. They're like, nope, don't remember it.
Well, I think most coaches are fact-based though, and that's maybe why you see like the memes about me explaining the workout. Client asking, what is the workout 30 seconds later, right? Like this does drive coaches nuts, but if you just like, I don't want to say ignore them, but like ignore that behavior, they can really spice up your class.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just finding about, they all fit in somewhere, and it's just how do you use their strengths and weaknesses to improve what you're doing and then go from there.
Okay. So Brian, the relationship introvert, how do you coach a program for them?
Very, very directly. And not in front of other people. So it's semi-private training, right? That's kind of what we've been talking about. Yeah. So it's very easy sometimes to be like, hey, Chris, you got deadlifts, right? And then grab the dumbbells. Cool, got it? Yeah. Like that person would be like, like they'd be very nervous because that, like to them it's like, Brian said grab this. If I grab the wrong thing, everybody's going to know it. Everyone's going to laugh at me. Yeah. And they're going to be like, see, Chris doesn't belong in the gym. Oh. And it's like so those are the people that you might have to set up on your own. And like while they're doing their warm-up, let's say they have a kettlebell deadlift and some sort of dumbbell press. While they're doing their warm-up, you grab out the kettlebell, you grab out the dumbbell for the press. And you go up and say, hey, Chris, like, listen, I got you set up over there. That's the deadlift. That's the weight that we finished with last time. And then we had the dumbbell. We had the deadlift. If you remember, that's in between. We're standing up. And then you got that single arm press. So we got 3. We did 2 sets last time. So we're going to try to get 3, try to make it a little bit harder today, but see how you feel. And then we'll go from there. Okay. So it's a very direct, soft tone. I'm not, like, pumping this person up, like, be like, oh, my God, you're going to crush it. Like, it's more very, very kind of direct, soft-spoken. Here you go, and then they kind of can do it on their own.
Okay.
They're not the type of person, they don't like, they would much more likely, even though it's relationship introvert, you might think like, oh, doesn't want to be a part of the group.
Yeah.
But their biggest fear would be one person staring at them and analyzing everything that they're doing. So sometimes you'd be like, why did this person choose group? They need more help. And it's like, because they don't want to be singled out. Like, they don't want to be like, well, Chris, like, you and I would be like, man, Chris is going to coach me for an hour?
Yeah.
That's awesome. They'd be like, oh my God. Like, he's going to watch every, like, what do you mean? He's going to watch everything I do? Like that's mortifying. So they would rather, like, take a class that is not appropriate for them, be able to hide away in the back, and just be like, here I am. Like, no one notice me. Please, no one notice me. And if you yell, great job, Chris, across the room, even though that's a great intention, they're going to be like, they might be mortified over that. So, like, it has to be coming up to them and explaining to them, like, hey, you're doing a great, I think you're doing a great job. And these are even the people that when they get recognition from other members makes them feel better. So if you have, like, these seed clients that are kind of like the leaders in your gym, I wouldn't even hesitate to be like, hey, like, can you do me a favor? Like, just go over and let Chris know that he's doing a good job. Like, because he just, needs to be a part of this. And, like, those things can kind of help a little bit more. But everything is done individually in that setting. In terms of, like, programming, we wouldn't give anything that you said that could potentially make them look stupid.
Yeah.
If they are uncomfortable saying, like, hey, let's try this box jump, to where they, like, could potentially, even though we have the soft boxes and nothing's going to happen to anybody's shin or anything like that, like they would be mortified if they ever fell. So they're the type of people that would just be like, mm-mm. You're like, oh, just try it. And you're like, mm-mm. And you're like, okay. So, finding things that are very, very, even if you have to start more basic than you would think, get them some wins early on. So they feel like, back to that what we talked about in the sales process with them, oh, I can do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
They're not going to be in a rush. They're never going to be like, hey, when can I back squat?
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're going to be like, I will do this bodyweight squat until Chris tells me that it is 100% necessary for me to change to something else. So those are the people that every once in a while you have to be like, hey, Mary, you used the 10-pound dumbbell for the last 5 workouts. Can we grab the 12 today?
Yeah.
But only meet them one step, one thing at a time. But so they're actually, I find them easier to coach than the previous relationship extrovert, because they're all over the place. At least these people, I feel like, are a little bit more like, what to kind of expect, and you can kind of manage it a little bit better.
I definitely scared a lot of these people off in the beginning, because we used to advertise, if you throw up on your first workout, you get a free hat. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine a person like that?
Yeah, so 25% of the people, I don't know if these things are equally distributed throughout the population, but if they were, like 25% would be, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. So Brian, I wanted to ask you about leading these people, managing them, guiding them as the owner of a business. And obviously, these 4 different personality types, they work differently together, and they work differently with clients. And so maybe you can talk to us about how to work with them and how to manage them in the workplace. So maybe let's start with the fact-based extrovert as a staff person or coach.
Yep. So as, quick refresher, these are the strong personality types. Mm-hmm. They want to be in control and they want to take lead. So foster that. Try to give them projects that they can take ownership of, and let them kind of run with it. They might be tough in meetings where they might dominate the conversation, things like that. So those are things that you might have to have as kind of like checks. They're very good at getting things done, though. So if you give them 2 tasks and say, hey, here's what we need to get done, they'll most likely get it done. How and who they might run over or offend people in the way of doing that might be something you need to help manage. Mm. But in that regard, you can kind of trust them to kind of get stuff done in that regard. So they're good people to kind of put in charge of certain projects in that way.
What kind of feedback do these people thrive on?
It depends. So separate from this, we kind of try to ask, like, hey, do you prefer like direct feedback? We try to just ask people right away, like, hey, do you prefer very direct feedback, or do you like more of like the sandwich of like, hey, you're great,
I do
not
like
so good, you're great. So, and everybody's different, So with these people, you really have to focus on what they did right first, and because if you, again, to me, everything is sales. If I'm still selling you on the idea that you're doing a great job, you're a great teammate, you're a great supporter. So if I get argumentative right from the bat and be like, you did this wrong, right away, then it can get a little awkward. So leading with like, hey, you're doing a great job with this. Awesome here. Here's some things that we can kind of improve. What do you think we could do better?
Okay.
Because now, again, I'm giving them all I can say is rather than you did this wrong, like, hey, here's how this thing went. What are some ideas that you have? Now I might have my own ideas, but I'm going to see if I can get that from them first. What are some ideas you have for when we do this again? Like, what could be better?
Okay.
And then if I can identify, hey, I had these two written down too, well, now we're on the kind of the same path.
Do you find these people respond best to like a more active, I won't say authoritative, but like an inspiring leader instead of somebody that's more passive that sits back?
I don't know. That'd be a tough one for me because I only have me as the leader being the example. Sure. But I think sometimes like they're very good with vision and the ideas. They're going to be the ones that would be the most likely to make sure that they had, the core values and mission statement 100% done out there and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And whereas like for me being more fact-based introverted, I understand, and I think all those things are 100% important, but I would struggle doing them because I'd be like, do we really want that one on there?
Yeah.
It's that word. Like, do you think that really? Whereas they're like, no, like yeah, go like this word. Like so, I think from an idea standpoint, they would definitely more be like, hey, I'm going to lead the charge with vision and message, than analytical type stuff. Okay. And sometimes that can get them in trouble because they start a project but might not have the actual hard skills right away to help accomplish that. So those are the kind of things that you have to kind of manage or partner them up with someone else who can kind of be a check to them.
Okay. I find like as a fact-based introvert with at least 20 fact-based extroverts working for me, that's what's most important is like, here's the vision, so that's our destination. Here's our values, right? Here's the parameters in which you can operate. And then from there, just letting people go is usually keeps everybody streamlined and going fast.
No, yeah, it makes sense. It's like letting them use their personality. As long as we're heading in this direction, there's going to be lots of different ways that we can do that based on these different, I wouldn't really call them strengths and weaknesses, but different types of personalities.
Sure. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. The fact-based introvert. Guys like us, how do you manage us?
Well, spreadsheets and data. You said I would get a raise if we hit 11.7% growth on Tuesday, February 13th. It's Tuesday, February 14th, and we are at 11.9. So is my raise start tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's very tell me exactly what is mission critical, what number are we trying to hit, and I will try to move that needle in that data point. Whereas so having very, very tangible, these are the people that do well with, hey, we need you to do, if you have 30 clients, we need you to be doing 15 goal reviews per month, right? Like they're very good with, tell me exactly what to do, why to do it, and then I'll make sure that gets done. They're not going to be great with sometimes making that choice on their own because they're going to overanalyze. It'd be hard for them to initiate the project because they're going to nitpick every detail of, well, maybe we should this would be they would take 8 months to launch something. Yeah. Because it's very much well, I need to make sure every detail of this is 100% good to go before we go with this. Okay. Right? An interesting side note with this is that sometimes these people might be your greatest program designers, but not your greatest coaches.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So maybe I'm very good at analyzing where someone is. Mm-hmm. I can design them a great program, but me getting that person excited to do it might not be the best. Right? Whereas you might have a coach who knows exercise technique, knows positions, and is also the best motivator, but would have no idea how to write a 16-week program to get someone from A to B. But if I was going to have someone coach someone from A to B, I would want that person to do it. I might not want him to write the program, but I might want him in the room coaching the person. Just as the best program designer, I'm like, please don't be the person that's coaching that person because they're going to need a lot more motivation to get through that workout than you're going to be able to give.
That makes sense.
So it's how do you, to your point before, how do you put people in the position to where they're still contributing to the same mission and vision, but competing in a realm where they're going to succeed. Yep. But these people, numbers, data, how am I doing based on what metrics, what analytics? Since I tend to be one of those type people, these are these people for me to manage because it's just easy. You could say, hey, did you do X? Did Y happen? Yep, then you get Z.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing.
How do you kind of empower them to make decisions or to try new things on their own?
I think the hardest part and why they can't is because they still nest under that perfectionist thing.
Yeah.
So in how they perform with the team is these are the other people that you'll have to calm down sometimes too. He'd be like, because they might come to you like, hey, did you see the way Chris let that guy do that lunge? I'm like, all right, like, was it that bad? Like, was he gonna die? Like, was his knee gonna pop off and go into the parking lot? Like, was he safe? Yes. All right, well then give him a little like, all right, like, or hey, how can we give Chris feedback to let him know that we want this lunge or whatever it is coached this way? Because they're going to be like, well, page 7 and section A of the operating manual says lunge must be 90 degrees. And they're going to be like, all right, well, you're right. You are right, but there's a difference between right and being effective, right? Like if it's just about being right, then it'd be very hard to get things done. So
this is so neat.
I think like just the more you can point those things out to them, is easy. It makes it easier anyway. But this is why none of these, you wouldn't want a room of just all one of these people, right? Because if it was just these people, we would just sit here talking all day and we'd have all these ideas and nothing would actually get done. With some of the other personality groups, it'd be like a bunch of random stuff and things are happening, but it's not in any direction towards anything. It's kind of really figure out how to put these people together and then move forward from there.
One sign that you are this person, you think, isn't that just common sense?
Yes.
Right? Like you said at lunch.
Yeah, you don't understand, like, how could someone not know that?
Exactly.
It's that's hard. Like, so when they're having a conversation in a group, they can come across as, oh, that's the guy that shoots down every idea that we have in the meeting, right? So like if you're running a meeting, you're like, hey, what are some ideas that we can do for this? And your energetic, like, relationship extrovert is like, we should have pizza parties. And you're like, yeah, so everybody could gain weight. And you're like, all right, well, thanks, Bob. It's like they're not trying to be negative. They're just like, that's how their mind works, and that everything is a pro and con list. So you can use that to your advantage, and then let other people vote on the list that they made.
Right.
Hey, Chris, run us through the pros and cons. Okay, everybody else. Now with that information, what do you think we should do? And you're like, wait, about my vote? Look, you don't like. No, you were the information person. Yeah, that was your job. And going through that way, and then also not being afraid to show them the metrics that move the business. Right.
Yeah.
There's other people that are just like they want to be concerned with their playlist that they made for the class. Was it great? Was the workout awesome? And then you're like, hey, but 5 people didn't come because we put this class at this time. This is the person that how can they contribute to the business would be like, hey, maybe not the P&L, but other things that you can give them and say like, what do you think we could improve here? And they will be able to give you more of like from an analytical point of like to pitch in with that.
Yeah.
So they're helpful people to have around. I'm pretty biased though.
So am I. I love these people.
Yeah.
No, you give them a KPI, but then you also have to give them permission to take an action, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, the relationship extroverts.
All right, so these are the people that are hard, in my opinion, hardest to coach, hardest to manage, mostly because they're in that opposite quadrant from us, right? These are the people that are so enthusiastic, every project, but they're the most likely to overextend themselves. So, I can do it, perfect, I got it. Nope, hey, can you stay and take these clients at 2? Yeah, sure, no problem. And then, hey, can I leave at 2:50? Yeah, why? Like, oh, I told so-and-so I had to be at, and you're like, well, then why did you tell me that you could, I didn't want to tell you no, like, I felt really bad, like, and it's like, all right, well, now you made it worse because you didn't tell me no, like, and so those are the people that you have to understand that they usually come at this from a sincere place of wanting to help, but sometimes they don't know their own limitations, not in terms of skill set, but just in terms of budgeting their time.
Yeah.
So trying to give them really concrete boundaries in which to operate. Hey, from 12 to 4, I'm making up times, is your coaching hours. You can do whatever you want. You want to schedule 4 people, some are private, whatever. Those are your coaching hours. Your program design hours are between 4 and 5:30. Okay. That's when I want you in the office. They need structure because without it, they're going to be all over the place. So from a managing point of view, that would be the toughest aspect. We kind of touched on it in the last segment that these are the people that might annoy the fact-based introverts because you'd be like, and everybody likes Johnny, and Johnny's not even doing a good job. Like, and it's like, yeah, but Johnny's nice to everybody,
Exactly,
and he's like, he'll do anything for anybody.
Yeah.
So like, for us, it's like, yeah, but if they did it this way, it'd be better. Like, and it's like they don't care. So that's kind of an interesting thing with this type of person. It's really just making sure that you're taking advantage of their energy and their enthusiasm and wanting to please everybody, but giving them constraints into which to do it in.
I got a perfect example. So let's say that I'm a relationship extrovert. You come in and our session runs 5 minutes long. The next person starts 5 minutes late and it runs 5 minutes long. And then the third client is starting 10 minutes late. And I think that I'm over delivering on value by doing this extra time when really like I'm disenfranchising all these people who are waiting, and the problem keeps snowballing, and it drives guys like me and you crazy when the sessions don't start on time, right?
Yep.
All right, the relationship introvert. Very calm, laid back, not easy to excite.
So this is the person that you're going to make sure that you want to give all of their, I would say, both criticism and praise kind of in private. Like I would, if I can remember, I'm not perfect, to not correct them in front of other people, because again, they want to make sure everybody's taken care of, that everything's okay, and that they fit in. So you wouldn't want to be like, you wouldn't want to shout at them from across the gym, like, hey Chris, make sure you put back that that bar.
Yeah.
Like as simple as that. You're like, oh my God, Brian yelled at me, and it's like to me, like it's like, nah, just reminding you to put easy.
Yeah.
I was just telling you to put the bar back. Like it wasn't like a personal attack. But some people, for whatever reason, take feedback differently.
Yeah.
And I kind of left it out at the other one, but it is important to give that relationship person amazing praise in front of everybody. Hey, I was here this morning and I saw Chris coach class. It was awesome. The music was perfect. Everybody was working hard. Technique was great. Just wanted to let Chris know he did a great job.
Yeah.
Even that, to this person, to the relationship introvert, would probably be like, like they don't want to be front and center of everything.
Okay.
They would be like, not always, but recognition in private. So this is someone you could write a letter to and say, hey, Chris, I just want to let you know that I see what you're doing. I think you're doing a great job. Here's a whatever gift, to say thank you for all the work that you're doing, rather than like, hey, come here, we're going to interview you on social media and tell everybody about you. Like, so there's different ways and to recognize this person, but that tends to be super helpful.
Okay. I've definitely had staff in this boat too, and they would, they would spend 3 hours on the phone with Zen Planner and then like an hour crying because they just couldn't solve the problem, and it was so important to them that they solved the problem, or else they thought I would be mad at them.
Right. And they tend to want to shield, not necessarily their boss or their leader, whoever is their direct report, from things, when sometimes it'd be better just to let the person know.
Oh, yeah.
And then we can fix this together. It's more of like, to your point, if Brian or Chris finds out about this, they're not going to be happy, and I don't want Brian to not be happy. And then I find myself repeatedly working with these people, trying to explain to them, the reason I'm upset right now is because it's 6 weeks into this thing that could have been solved 6 weeks ago if you just bring this up. The one thing that's helped is using things like end of shift notes, because then there's maybe a degree of separation. You might not want to come into the office and be like, hey, Brian, I got to talk to you. But from a little bit of a distance, I can gather myself, write something, an email of what happened, and get it out. Right? So give them other ways of expressing that without having it to be like, yeah, sure, come, let's sit down one-on-one and talk, like, direct.
Thanks.
Giving them a little bit of a separation in that regard helps sometimes.
Okay. Well, this is super helpful. Obviously, not everybody's the same, and not everybody fits neatly into a little bucket either. But starting, with kind of this broad perspective of how to work with different personalities can make a better workplace for everybody, I think.
Yep. You're just trying to acknowledge some of these tendencies in people and realize the whole reason that we're doing this is trying to get the best out of every person. It's not to like manipulate them or do anything. It's like, so we're moving in this direction. This is where this person would best be suited.
Another amazing skill set of a leader. Thanks, Brian.
You got it.
All right, man.